I do have a lot of surrogates, and they are speaking very beautifully, and they come all from all over Washington, and they're highly respected, and they think this is the greatest scam they've ever seen. And some are Democrats. They're very embarrassed by what's going on. I just want to start by saying that on the electric vehicles that Biden is pushing down everybody's throat, even though people don't want them, he wants to put a big tariff on China, which is a suggestion that I said, where have you been for 3.5 years? They should have done it a long time ago. But they've also got to do it on other vehicles, and they have to do it on a lot of other products, because China's eating our lunch right now. And they went away from what I was doing. They're eating our lunch, so they have to do it on much more than electric vehicles, and they have to get going fast, but it should have been done 3.5 years ago. I did it, I started. And then they started playing games, and it was very bad for the auto industry. In Michigan, the auto industry.
All right, my friends, J.R. Dukes with you. Appreciate everybody joining me today. Always want to extend a warm welcome to all my free-minded friends. Folks, Donald Trump is animated as usual. What you are listening to are comments Donald Trump made on his way into his so-called New York hush money case involving Stormy Daniels and, of course, this crooked DA Alvin Bragg. This entire case, of course, is overseen by the nutty, outrageous, and definitely unscrupulous Judge Mert Shin. You may be thinking, well, why is Donald Trump talking about the auto industry instead of talking about his case? Well, the reality is President Trump, as usual, is always thinking of you. He's thinking of me. He's thinking of our country first and foremost. So I think it's very fitting and very proper that he's addressing what the Biden administration is doing as far as essentially stealing the ideas that Donald Trump has made. And in an election year, guess what? Apparently Joe Biden has had an epiphany. We need to do what's in America's interest. The reality is, folks, President Biden just has no shame. President Donald Trump had some interesting comments that he gave during this presser. Let's listen a little bit further.
He's doing very poorly because jobs are starting to leave. We're losing, with the electric vehicle mandate, they're going to be made in China. They're all going to be made in China and also in Mexico, owned by China. Poll just came out, the very respected Redfield Wilton, and it has us up 6 in Michigan, 7 in North Carolina, Pennsylvania +2, Georgia +5, Florida +9, Arizona +2, and up in every other place 2. So that just came out. That's on top of yesterday's New York Times poll.
So, of course, President Donald Trump is extremely excited, as we all should be, that the polls continue to show what we all know in our hearts and in our minds, and that is Donald Trump is poised to become the next president of the United States. And all the battleground states that matter, with the exception of maybe one, President Donald Trump has taken a substantial lead over Joe Biden, which is fantastic news to all of us.
I think today I might just quote somebody that frankly has been extremely respectful to me over the last period of a few months. He's watching this scam taking place, Michael Avenatti. Have you heard the name?
That's right, my friends. You did not mishear. This is the president, Donald Trump, talking about his former nemesis, Michael Avenatti. Remember Michael Avenatti? He used to be the outspoken, nutty attorney to Stormy Daniels, the porn star involved in this so-called hush money case. Now, Michael Avenatti is currently spending the next 19 years or so of his life locked up in a federal penitentiary because of the fact that he ended up stealing money from Stormy Daniels and he tried to extort money from the Nike company. Let's see if you remember Michael Avenatti.
We've been stronger at this point.
What do you say to your critics, and there are plenty of them out there, who say you only care about grabbing publicity right now so you yourself can run for president in 2020?
No, I don't believe in that at all. I believe they're absolutely wrong. Well, if you know what I believe in the rule of law. I believe in facts and evidence. I believe in the truth. And I believe calling this president out for his BS every step of the way. That's what I believe in.
And just finally, you are running, is that right?
No, I have not announced whether I'm running. I haven't made a decision. What I will say is I'm traveling around the country. I'm very encouraged by people and their reaction to me. And a lot of people are encouraging me to run because they think that we need a fighter. We need somebody to call this president out on his conduct, and we've got to get back to making this nation what it once was.
Wow. Talk about out of the woodwork, right? Well, you have Michael Avenatti posting on X, which of course was Twitter. He's out essentially taking the defense of Donald Trump. It's amazing how times change, no?
He said, the next time you're accused of something by someone, a coworker, neighbor, friend, significant other, stranger, ask yourself if it would be okay if only they were allowed to speak, accuse, antagonize, while you were not allowed to respond. He's talking about the gag order, or defend yourself in any way. If your answer is no, then you too should be angered by Trump not being allowed to respond to the various people that are making comments. Now think of it. You ask me questions, I'm not allowed to respond. They're the easiest questions that could possibly be asked. Only a guy like Biden couldn't answer those questions.
As you all are probably aware by this time, President Trump is under a very strict and unconstitutional gag order by this Judge Merchant. Remember, Judge Merchant has a daughter who is currently and has been and is currently an active, she's basically an agent for the Democratic Party. She has made over $93 million for all sorts of Democrats, including, but not limited to, the current President Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and of course, our favorite representative, Adam Schiff. And we all know what former President Donald Trump refers to Adam Schiff as.
Because he's not there. You ready? So here's a couple of quotes. Mark Levin, great man, great legal talent. This is not a trial of Donald Trump. It's a case of the Democrat Party versus America. It also represents the greatest effort to interfere with and steal a federal election in American political history. Biden is seeking to clear the field. He wants to clear the field because he can't do it himself. So he's weaponized the Department of Justice. And as you know, they have their people in that room. The DOJ is in that room.
Friends, it would be very, very difficult for anybody to look at you and with credibility state that this case going on in New York State, New York City right now is anything less than prima facie election interference. You know it, I know it, and it is a shame for our country that this type of nonsense is allowed to continue.
Because they want to try and hurt me. Now, the good news is my poll numbers have gone up significantly. This is not what they had in mind. Newt Gingrich, this is without precedent in American history. It has never occurred to President John Adams or anybody else that you could jail your primary competitor, your primary opponent.
Each and every one of us probably know Newt Gingrich. He used to be the Speaker of the House under President Bill Clinton way back in the 90s, and he is also a constitutional scholar. So when he speaks, we need to listen, and he is also outraged by all this nonsense that's going on.
In this case, Vice President Thomas Jefferson, this goes back a long way. This has never happened in our country before. There's never been anything like this. Andy McCarthy just came out. New Yorkers should be outraged at the mockery Bragg is making of the state's legal system as the entire country looks on. The entire world is looking on. There's a very bad thing that's happening in New York. Businesses are leaving New York because of what happened here and what happened with another crooked judge, Engoron. Totally.
I'm sure you all remember Judge Engoron. Of course, this is the guy that overseen the original case against Donald Trump under A.G. James. What a joke. And of course, this huge, unbelievable verdict in the Engoron situation is currently being appealed by President Donald Trump. And he rightly points out what all these commentators are saying. We all know what's going on here. What's going on here is election interference. You have President Joe Biden, who has successfully and unfortunately militarized the entire Department of Justice, and in conjunction with state and local officials is doing anything and everything they can to bring down former President Donald Trump.
And he's under investigation right now, as he should be. He's under a big investigation, I hear, right now. Jonathan Turley, experts are shrugging, not sure what the crime is being alleged. Prosecutors have not explained why denoting this as a legal expense was wrong. So they say.
He's exactly correct in that commentary. I love the way that they spell this out. The president does not even know the crime in which he is technically charged under. In other words, this is a records case, folks. That's all this is a records case. They're saying the president mislabeled an expense. He should have labeled it, according to them, as a campaign expense, and instead he labeled it as a personal expense. But the situation here is this. These charges are at best misdemeanors. What makes them a felony, 34 felonies specifically, according to DA Bragg, is in his assertion that the president should have listed these as a campaign expense versus a personal expense. But there has to be an underlying crime in connection with this alleged falsification of records. And as of right now, the president has not been made aware of exactly what that crime is. What an outrage. Folks, this is a due process violation. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, the president can simply appeal if he's convicted and it will all be erased. But that doesn't matter. They want to label him as a felon right now today so that they can run against him as a felon and or incarcerate him for the duration of this campaign. This is the type of nonsense they do in Russia. What an outrage. All right, folks, I don't want to make this video too long, so we're going to pause this right here, right now as part one. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't done so already. That way, you know when the next video comes out. I will continue this very soon. We're going to review all the comments President Trump has made today, and I'm going to give you my analysis of his comments. My friends, I always say keep that mind free, never give up. And until next time, I am J.R. Dukes.